You guys good on the left? Yep. You guys good on the right?
Sure are.
Excellent. Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the March 15th meeting of the Glenville Town Board. Please rise for an invocation and pledge of allegiance. As we all know, we'll be celebrating St. Patrick's Day in just a few days, so we have a nice Irish prayer. Dear Lord, may the strength of God pilot us. May the wisdom of God instruct us. May the hand of God protect us. May the word of God direct us. And may my salvation, O Lord, be always ours this day and evermore. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Councilman Martin?
Here.
Councilman Ramicard?
Here.
Councilman Godlewski?
Here.
Councilwoman Gonzalez-Colon?
Here.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Here. Resolutions are right up front here. Agendas, if you're interested in following along. We only have one add-on resolution, which we'll take up after item number 19 and before item 20, which is new business. And the add-on resolution is, you don't have that on there, do you, Julie? Because I don't have it in this packet.
It should be on the back. Oh, it's on the
No,
back. Okay.
no. I know what it is, but I don't have the actual resolution.
You don't?
No. I have 19. Yeah, thank you so much. So that will be add-on resolution number 1, which would be calling a public hearing to amend a local law for PDD at Dutch Meadows Lane and Route 50. And we'll take that up, as I said, after 19 and before 20. So with that, we'll move right into town council reports on my left. I'll start with Councilman Godlewski. Go ahead.
Not, you said Dutch Meadows.
Well, it's on Dutch Meadows. On Dutch Meadows and 50. Yeah. It says Dutch Meadows and Route 50. It's on Dutch Meadows and Route 50.
Oh, I'm talking about the other.
Okay, sorry about that. That's okay. We're all confused up here. Did you make copies? Okay, good thing. All right. All right, so we just have to make copies of that add-on resolution. We'll give you a minute. We'll start on my.
For Legacy Park, you said amending, yeah, that was for Legacy Park.
The add-on is not for the PDD. Oh, I'm sorry, not for the Glen S PDD. The add-on is for the agreement with Legacy Park on Route 50 and Dutch Meadows.
Okay, that was
Yeah,
my.
okay. We got it. And we'll have the agendas to you, or the resolutions to you very shortly.
It's here.
In the meantime,
The add-on is here because she thought it was for the PDD.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, we'll get her back here. Mike, I know you've been waiting. So we're going to start with Mike Godlewski.
In the time being, I wanted to make sure that what I was about to say isn't something that happened 2 meetings ago, just to not continue the start we're off to. But I just wanted to say I participated in the trail walk back in February. We the first March meeting was canceled, which is throwing me a little off here timeline wise. But it was a great event. It highlights our trail system over at Indian Meadows Park. All the way over to the Anderson Dog Park and back. I thank Ms. Hillis for organizing the event, and also for the park staff for helping to put it together. It was a little bit weather influenced it, certainly. It was a little cold. My chiropractor actually admitted that she bowed out a little early from the trail walk when I saw her again, but it was a good time and we enjoyed it. And thank you for doing that. It's something I look forward to every year. And that's all.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Amanda Barone.
I'll respond to it,
Yeah.
I went to the spaghetti dinner for the Scotia Glenville Lions, and it was a great event, and it amazed me how on top of the service they were, and food was great, and I was happy to be there and support them. I'm getting familiar with my liaison roles for the police department and the fire departments, and I'm going to be doing a ride along next week with the PD, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And I went to the fire chiefs meeting where we talked about, the goings on with the fire districts right now and current issues. So I'm really excited to continue in that capacity.
Has there been any movement on the public safety project that we have that money for? Did they talk about that, the 150?
For the we're working on trying to figure out how to best move that forward. I have to follow up. I just followed up with former Chief Almy and to kind of see where we can connect and get some movement there.
Great. Thank you. Councilman Martin.
Yeah, just a couple of things. I did go to the meeting of the Legends Park with the veterans, and they were very appreciative of all the fundraising efforts. They had a summary of the fundraising from the dinner. That was a well-attended affair, and they also appreciated the pizza and wing bowl. I think, Chris, what was it? All told, they had like 9,000, 10,000 between those two events.
Between the two.
Yes.
Yeah, about 3,000 on the pizza and wings.
Yeah. Now, so I did attend that meeting. That's always good to hear from those folks. Also had a chance to review the, for lack of a better term, the proposed cannabis legislation. I think we're getting close on that. It's been a pleasure to work with Don. So hopefully soon the residents will be seeing some forthcoming movement on that. And then also had a chance to look at the PDD amendments that are forthcoming, and that's always interesting to review that. So that's all I have.
And SBED will be meeting. You want to talk a little bit about that event we're putting together?
Yeah, we're putting together the event. I didn't see that we're set on a meeting
Not
time
yet.
yet.
Well, we're trying to get.
Yeah, trying to get a meeting. Yeah,
For
in advance of the event, so we can plan it a little better.
April event.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you. Councilman Ramatar.
No reports, but I just want to thank the town employees for all the hard work they've been putting in the last couple of, I would say, weeks with all this crazy weather that I've been having. Everyone from working at town hall to highway to water and sewer, they've all been doing a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
And the residents.
That's right. Thank you. Appreciate it. We'll move on to item number 5, which is privilege of the floor. We do have a few people signed up. If you're not signed up, you could just raise your hand if you'd like to speak, and I'll call on you. We'll ask you to come to the podium, address the board with your name and your address, and we'll start with Andy Tomko.
I just finished reading it the other day and studying the pictures. My name's Andy Tomko. I live at 5 Drought Drive. I've been a resident here since '73 and been active in Rotary in the town for quite a while, but since left Rotary. The reason I'm coming here is our town historian is now flying with the angels. And one of my suggestions, I have 4 suggestions, is that when people apply for a building permit, they take a photograph before, 2 or 3 photographs during the construction project, and after. So we have a historical record. This is, long-term, 30 or 40 years. When I worked in Japan, they have a 1,000-year, 500, 100, 50, and 20-year plan, not just a 2-year budget plan. So they follow it. So let's think long range. Every one of you have a camera. You go to these things. If you put the building permit number on and send it to the town, it goes to the file, and it'll save the file. So that's number 1 suggestion. So give it some thought. Number 2, I happen to go around the Niskayuna police station. And in the back of the police station, there are 2 or 3 signs set up as a secure location where they have cameras. Like this building probably has cameras outside. So if you are buying or selling something off the internet or trading with someone, you make the trade in that location and it's recorded on the police video. So if there is a problem, that would be, how much do a couple of signs cost? You put it outside of this building, and that could be a designated thing. Real cheap and effective, and I think the people in town would appreciate it. So that was number 2. Number 3, I was involved with the original sign down on the corner 25 years ago. And I'd like to thank the town for putting the electronic sign. I spent 7 years trying to get an electronic sign down there, but there were issues with the town, and we're not going there. But it's hard to read. A lot of my fellow Rotarians, especially the elder ones, too many colors, bad backgrounds, bad choices. You have wasted space on the top, wasted space on the bottom, the header and the footer. We only use capital letters. We did not use lowercase letters. They were 6 inches high, and you could read them from a distance. Now, and we only had 4 lines. There are 6 lines down there, and you use lowercase letters. So if you're driving the car, you glance over there, it's too much to read, too much information. So if you could do a study and figure out what the right colors are. Now, in the 7 years I was involved with designing and engineering a sign, we talked to a professional photographer, and he was involved with signs as well. Scotia Glenville has the best sign in front of their high school. You can read it. It's a black background with red letters. There's no question about it. Big, bold, not too many lines. When we had the original sign here, I made up a sheet with all the spaces and characters that you could put for the old sign. So you had to choose what you want. You had to think about it. You just couldn't arbitrarily just go on and on, put 6 lines on. You had to think about what information do you want to transfer to the people in the community. So I'm offering a suggestion that maybe you do a little study or something, because it's really hard to see the colors and the choices. Sitting in front of your computer, I can play just as good as anybody else, and it looks great. Out on the sign down there, not so good. So that's number 3. Okay, and the 4th one, this is something I'm going to ask you guys. In the newspaper, the last couple of weeks, they've talked about all the towns paying a lot of overtime for a lot of people. Like I think Glenville put the top 10 in there. So I did a little back of the envelope crunching of numbers. We had one person work 900 hours. 5 or 6 people work 600 hours. It comes up every year. We know that. Do you budget for that extra all the time?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
got,
overtime is
yeah,
a budget.
it's got to be budgeted. And what I came up with 4,600 extra hours just in the 10 people. So when does the town board decide to put more police officers on the payroll? Okay, how many, there's 2,080 hours in a year, so you can hire 2 people, easy. And I know there's benefits and all that, but I just kept reading the newspapers and, it bothered me, so I thought I'd come and talk about it. But what are the drivers for it? We have a great police office, we have a great police department, and I don't object to paying the people who work. Okay, if you're working 900 extra hours out of a year of 2,080, are you sharp enough? So if you have to pull your pistol and get involved, are you going to shoot a Scotia police officer, or the Scotia police officer is going to shoot? Are you awake and alert? That's all. I just worry about it for the town. So those are my 4 items: payroll, town sign, secure location, and photos for the building. Thank you very much for your patience and your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rick Siciliano is next.
Thank you very much for the time. My name is Rick Siciliano. I live on 1778 Ridge Road. I'm right at the top of Rector Road. People ask me where I live, and I said, well, if you're coming up quick from the gun club and don't hit the stop sign, you're in my ditch. And that has happened every year, and I've been there since 1985. That's happened every year, except for this year. I didn't get anyone in the ditch. So coming up Rector Road, what's really bad, especially we have a lot of heavy fog up there. Putting a sign on Rector Road just saying stop ahead on one side, before you get to the intersection would be great, safety, because we have had accidents there. And then the second thing is, being that I live right on Ridge Road, as you're coming down Ridge and you're making the turn, you don't see my driveway until you're beeping your horn in back of me. And that's happened many times. And I'm hoping that we could put a, blind driveway sign, before you get to that intersection. So I don't get, slammed at some point. And also, third thing, on Rector Road itself, all right, I'm wondering if there's any way that you guys could put in a center line, because a lot of people come down there, that is used a lot to get to 890. And we get a lot of people coming down that road, and all of a sudden, they don't understand they're over more than halfway. It's tough at night to see, coming down, because you're going down hills, you're coming up, and all of a sudden, bingo, there's a car in front of you. And it just, that way, at least people know where the center line is of the road. Make it a little bit, safer again, because I have been forced over and off the road. Last year it happened to me. Luckily, I know the road, and I was able to get over where there was a driveway. But it's happening more and more. You just see people are coming down, they're not familiar with the road. And the next thing you know, they're in the middle of the road. So that's one of the other things, suggestion. And I've gone to the highway department. Nothing's happened, So I heard about this today. I figured, let me come in, But those are three things. And also, the horse farm across the street, his attitude is we should put another stop there right at the end of Ridge Road, so to make it a three-way stop. But the biggest thing is that coming up the road, sometimes you just don't see the stop sign until you're in the ditch. And the county did something very nice for me. When this started happening, I saw the county digging out the ditches, so I asked them to make my ditches a little bit deeper. And so you can't get pulled out by a truck. You really need a tow truck to pick you up and get you out of there. So that's my
Thank you, Rick.
That's my thing.
We appreciate it.
I hope we could do something about it.
So when we get these types of comments, it's great for us. We start with the Traffic Safety Committee. Councilwoman Gonzalez-Barone is the liaison to that. She can bring these concerns to the
I
trade.
was told that they were going to call me and get me to one of these meetings.
They can let you know when the traffic safety meeting
Yeah.
is meeting. I believe Rector is a county road. If Rector's a county road, then that's really going to be on the county.
Rector's a county road? Okay.
I believe it is.
So I should
And
give them a call again, because I have called them already.
you could call DPW, county DPW and see
County
if,
DPW?
yeah, if they're,
I will do that.
but
yeah.
we also though, in traffic safety, look at all, state roads, county roads, town
Right.
roads, and then we can make referrals and whatnot. We have a town engineer, traffic engineer that will
Yep.
look at it. And
I know they had a counter on it once, but
yeah,
they put the counter above the the gun club. So you're still getting a lot of traffic coming out of the gun club going down the hill.
Yep.
So
Councilman Gonzalez-Barone could maybe reach out. Do we have, Rick? Before you leave, can you give your contact information and she can invite you?
I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard at privilege of the floor? Going once, going twice, seeing none. Privilege of the floor is now closed, and we'll move to the supervisor's comments to the board. Obviously, Andy has not heard the Ketsley addendum to the two certainties in life are death and taxes, because the third is paying overtime. Right? It's okay to laugh at that. That's funny. Can't escape overtime, Andy. But we'll talk about it. Yeah. We'll talk about it. Just to bring you up to date on a few things going on in the town. Obviously, as you all know, we are in the process of interviewing for 2 positions. One is the code enforcement officer. Arnie will be retiring at the end of this month. We did interview a few candidates. We're in the process of talking about what our next decision is going to be in that position, so we don't necessarily have an answer for that immediately. The second position is for the new deputy clerk, as Kristen has moved over to take the retiring Joelle spot here at the courts as court clerk. We have a number of interviews that we went through, Julie and I, and we'll be meeting tomorrow to talk about potentially a decision on that one soon. I just want to mention, and we'll talk about it when we get to the public hearing, calling for the public hearing anyway, the much talked about Glen SPDD already. I met with the folks there. They're looking to make a slight change to the PDD, which we'll be calling for the public hearing tonight. I think you've all seen it, that they're looking to add more commercial than what the original PDD called for, but they're also looking to add some mixed-use apartments over the top, which wasn't allowed in the original PDD. So we'll be calling that public hearing and taking that up next week. But we had a nice conversation about the fact that, you know, the first commercial, they kind of resisted the first commercial idea that we had and said, well, there's no market for it. And it turned out to be quite a market for it. So when these developers tell you there's no market for these things, you got to just kind of push back, as Jim knows, and make sure we get the right product, because we have. I along with Jason and Vicky and Chief Janik and our labor attorney, had a labor management meeting with the PBA. I was just kind of touching base again on some small issues, so we'll be talking potentially about some of those issues. We have a follow-up by the end of the month on that labor management meeting, but labor management meetings with the PBA are continuing, and we are beginning our negotiations with CSEA Highway, and we'll be meeting with those folks sometime, I think early April, to begin those. As you know, the CSA contracts expire at the end of this year. PBA is not till 2024, but the 2 CSEA contracts expire this year. So we're starting early in the hope to get earlier resolution on them. I did have an opportunity to get the Breslin's office again on 2 matters. One was and I met with his chief of staff. He wasn't available. But one was the home rule. As you, I think, read, I wrote an opinion piece on what I believe to be the governor's attack on home rule through her forced affordable housing plan. There's all sorts of problems with the proposal. I won't get into them all now, but we will certainly if this goes forward. But I impressed upon Senator Breslin's office is the governor's running around saying, this is only a Long Island issue. Only people on Long Island care about this issue because it's only going to really affect Long Island. That's not true. You know, overriding home rule is a statewide issue, which I impressed upon Senator Breslin's office. It's an issue that upstate senators need to stand up and make sure they're defending. This is not a Long Island issue. This is an issue that if you don't meet the governor's arbitrary numbers on what she believes your community should have in what she calls affordable housing, then she's going to come into your community and tell you that it's going anywhere that she wants it to be. That is an infringement on home rule, and it's unconstitutional. It's against the state constitution, any way you slice it. And it's just something that we all have to stand together and fight against as local municipalities. This is not a Long Island. It's not a downstate. This is not a Westchester County issue. This is an issue for every town and every village and every city in the state of New York. And we're passionate about it, and we're going to stay on it. And I made sure I delivered that message to Senator Breslin's staff, and she promised me that he would certainly take it under advisement for when he's in conference to make sure that his conference knows it affects his community as much as any. Last thing we talked about was where our $1.5 million is after all these years. For some reason, a majority senator, the most majority senator in the Senate so far, has been unsuccessful to move money that all it requires, and I repeated this to the staff many times, all this requires to move is the signature of the majority Senate leader and then the signature of the governor of New York. Only 2 things required at this point. And if a senior majority senator can't move that, then I don't know how effective that senator can be in his job. So that was a message that was also delivered. We've been patient. It's been over 3 months now, and there's no reason why that can't move. But we'll stay on top of that. To give you some updates on finance, where we are with finance, because I know, everybody's always interested in that. We're still closing out the 2022 financial year, but the financial numbers are starting to come into focus, which is nice. For sales tax, we recently received our fourth quarter Metroplex sales tax, and I'm pleased to report that we hit an all-time high of $1.1 million for this revenue source. I guess that's what inflation does. It has a good effect on sales tax collection. We added to the contracted sales tax that we received from Schenectady County, and we ended the year with over $3 million in annual sales tax for the first time in that revenue line. And again, I attribute most of that to probably the inflation that we're seeing. Our slight sales tax increase last year was offset, however, by a drop in mortgage tax revenue by $200,000. So that's the other side of the coin. The revenue drop began last June when mortgage rates began increasing, as you would imagine. Unfortunately, the revenue drop is still continuing. Over the past 10 months, our mortgage revenue is down 45% from the prior year period. At this pace, we'll end this year with mortgage tax revenues, very near our budgeted figure of about $650,000. But for comparison, last year, we were at $925,000. So that gives you an idea what's going on in that line. On our 2022 expenses, largely they came in below budgeted levels, which is nice, although certain line items were greatly affected by inflation, as I mentioned. Our highway expenses, for example, for repair parts increased significantly, ending nearly $55,000 above our original budgeted number. Similarly, our gas and diesel, as you imagine, expense ended $130,000 above our original 2022 budget, and our townwide gas and electric expense was $40,000 more than our original budget. So energy is certainly driving whatever is over budget. It's being driven by energy, gas, electric. In each of these cases, as well as for several other smaller ones, we did pass budget amendments, as you all know, during this year to address the shortfall. So money has been moved to cover those shortfalls. Overall, we expect to end 2022 with a surplus, however, in the town general, town outside, and our sewer funds. We should end 2022 with small operating deficits in highway and water. Deficits which were anticipated and were covered through our planned budgeting of fund balance. Importantly, in 2022, we also fully funded the town match requirements for a number of state and federal grants that we've received. All told, we have over $2 million in dedicated capital accounts to fully cover our share of all these projects, including the Freeman's Bridge Road multipath sidewalk, the Van Buren Road multipath sidewalk, and the remaining safe routes to school sidewalks, as well as the Melwick Park boat launch, and the Mohawk Hudson Bike Hike Trail. Looking ahead, with 8 months of our 2024 tax cap finished, next year's tax cap will virtually be guaranteed to be the max 2%. Certainly inflation is higher than that. That would equate to about $195,000 in allowable new tax levy for 2024, but our final amount will be slightly higher due to our tax base growth. So that's kind of the summary on finances. And any questions for me? Guess my time is up.
It's like the
You don't pay the energy bill.
it's like the Oscars. They're playing you.
Expect you to start playing some music. Okay, so now we'll get back to the agenda. And we'll start with item number 7, a resolution to schedule a public hearing for Wednesday, April 5th, right here in Town Hall, to hear any persons interested in the proposed changes to the Glen-esque PDD. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
Do I
it.
have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this resolution sets a public hearing for here in this room to amend local law number 4 of 2017, establishing the Sacandaga Road Mixed Use Development Plan Development District. And the change, as I understand, only affects parcel number 3 and some language relating to the uses that are allowed there and the scale of those uses. And I will note that the public hearing is to be held here in this room. When's the date?
April 5th.
April 5th here in this room.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Barton?
Yes.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Delavatio?
Yes.
Councilman Gonzalez Barone?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 8, authorizing the hiring of seasonal workers. Do I have a motion?
So
Do
moved.
I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, it's that time of year again that we need to hire some summertime maintenance and security needs that the park has. And we're looking at hiring 4 park laborers, 1 park security worker, 2 water laborers, and 2 highway laborers, all with a $15 per hour with no benefits, starting May 1st and ending September 17th.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Barton?
Yes.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Delavatio?
Yes.
Councilman Gonzalez Barone?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 9, authorizing the purchase of 2 vehicles for the Parks Department. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. Commissioner of Public Works has informed us that we need 2 vehicles, one for the parks, both for the Parks Department, one as a work truck and one as a dump truck. The work truck is, lowest bidder was Joe Basil Chevrolet for a total price of $50,753. And the dump truck, same thing, Joe Basil Chevrolet, lowest bid for $66,662. This resolution is to purchase those 2 vehicles, which is included in the budget.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Barton?
Yes.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Delavatio?
Yes.
Councilman Gonzalez Barone?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 10, authorizing the purchase of 1 vehicle for the Water Department. Do I have a motion?
So
Do
moved.
I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, another vehicle that's needed for the Water Department as recommended by the Commissioner of Public Works to the lower bidder. Lower bidder again is Joel Basil Chevrolet for a work truck for the purchase price of $57,496, which is also included in the budget.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Barton?
Yes.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Delavatio?
Yes.
Councilman Gonzalez Barone?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 11, authorizing the purchase of remote read meters, water meters. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, the town is continuing its addition of remote readers in commercial businesses. Commissioner of Public Works advises that the town needs additional readers, a total of 50, for the total price of $23,271.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Barton?
Yes.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Delavatio?
Yes.
Councilman Gonzalez Barone?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 12, authorizing the purchase of disc golf equipment for Indian Meadows Park. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a
Do I
motion.
have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this is for equipment necessary to build a full disc golf course at Indian Meadows. And the lowest bid quoted was MVP Disc Sports in the amount of $7,744.74.
Thank you. This is a exciting project for me. I know for many of you, I don't play disc golf, but had so many people call for this that I'm excited to get that going. And I want to thank Vicki for all her hard work on it. And I think we've been talking about this for a couple years now, so we're ready to go. So it's very exciting. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Barton?
Yes.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Delavatio?
Yes.
Councilman Gonzalez Barone?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 13, authorizing a contract with Schenectady County for a meal program at the Glenville Senior Center. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a
Do
motion.
I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this is for a program to provide nutritious meals at the senior center for citizens over the age of 60 to ensure that they're going to have access to nutritious meals on a regular basis. This is going to be provided through Schenectady County Department of Senior and Long-Term Care Services, who receives funding to operate and provide oversight to such services.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? And just for clarification, this is a program we've been offering there for how many years? 25 years. Not new, it's just a change of providers. So, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Goodley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez Barone?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 14, correcting a resolution, earlier resolution regarding 2 vehicles for the police department. Do I have a motion? Do
So moved.
I have a second?
I'll second.
Move in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, you just mentioned it. This resolution is to correct a past resolution that was incorrect. 2 vehicles were purchased for the police department, the difference being $7,121, which is, this resolution is to add that additional cost to the first resolution and pay for the vehicles.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Goodley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez Barone?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next resolution, authorizing a contract with CHA Consulting for a sewer project feasibility study. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Just to start the conversation, we were approached by our neighbor and partner, the town of Ballston. The town of Ballston is taking up a feasibility study evaluating any opportunity to provide sanitary sewer along Route 50 corridor within the town of Ballston line, southerly to Gleason Road. So first they want to do it within the town of Glenville, within the town of Ballston. They approached us and asked us if we wanted to look at going south to anywhere else in the town of Glenville. As you all know, we did a study years ago where we looked at trying to bring sewer from Price Chopper, where it ends, up to the county line, up to the town county line. And it was too cost prohibitive at that time to hook into the sewer and go that way. But now with Ballston looking at doing it, potentially we can hook off the Ballston line down 50. And we looked at it and looked at maybe going at least to southerly to Gleason Road and doing this in conjunction with the town of Ballston. We'd be able to then send the sewage to the Saratoga Authority as opposed to going to Schenectady, and look at if it's feasible to do Route 50, primarily to try to get many of those ghost properties up there back up and going. As you know, there's a lot of vacant or unused land and empty buildings north of, say, Hetcheltown. And that's primarily because there's no sewer. And it's very hard to do anything commercial without sewer. So this study would allow us to join Ballston in this endeavor and see if it makes sense for the 2 towns. This would not exceed $21,000, and this is budgeted in the appropriations for the 2023 budget. Any questions or comments on that?
I just like to say I'm very hopeful about this. I remember that study. That was during my first term, and it died the death that most infrastructure projects die, and that it was too costly. So I could foresee where this could be hopefully a win-win situation for both us and Ballston, in that it would lower our cost to participate, and our volume of sewage just might be that, or waste might be that thing that tips the project for them in their favor. So it could be a win-win, and I'm very hopeful because I'd love to see that done. The 21st century, we shouldn't be putting sewage into the ground anymore.
Agreed. Any other questions or comments?
I would echo Councilman Martin's sentiments. I guess when I started in government, I never thought I'd be saying that there's excitement about sewers or sewage, but certainly considering that corridor and I think kind of like the zap of life it would provide if we were able to get sewers there eventually, it would really be a great project. So I am I'm very hopeful and optimistic about this. And
Mike, you're going to come around. This
I know.
is something government should be doing,
know.
not
I
social
know.
equity
Uh-oh.
endeavors.
We're gonna go down the
Just
bad
saying.
path now. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, just
No,
to,
I have no more.
just to piggyback on everything, I couldn't agree more with this, being a BHBL graduate and also having had my first business location right a little above that. I can attest firsthand of how dead that area is without the sewer. So I'm very excited to see this potentially move forward.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Godzowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez Perón?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 16, authorizing a contract with Jampro for the Capital District cleaning service. Do I have a motion?
I will move
Do
it.
I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this is a resolution to retain the services of Jam Pro for cleaning services. This was put out to bid, and they were the low bidder at an amount of $1,320 per month for 6 days of cleaning per week.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Godzowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez Perón?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 17, authorizing a contract with LaBella Associates for engineering services related to the Van Buren Road multi-path. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, as we continue to make the town a walkable town, this is to do the study to create a sidewalk from Van Buren to the Anderson Dog Park, given to, here, RFP was put out, but the bid was given to LaBella Associates.
Yes.
And the LaBella Associates does employ Michael Carr. We did discuss that, and Michael Carr is not benefiting from this in any way, directly or indirectly.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Again, I'm very excited about this. This has been a long time in the making. I know this is going to define the alignment of the walkway and the sidewalk. And then we're probably going to get into some issues where there may have to be some appeals to private landowners to participate. And that's where these things always get dicey. But we got to start somewhere. And it would be really nice to have that sidewalk installed there someday. And this is the first step down that path. No pun intended.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Godzowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez Perón?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 18, approving the monthly minutes for the town board meeting held on February 15th. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
As stated, Mr. Supervisor, this would approve the minutes from the last town board meeting, and I would thank Ms. Davenport and staff for putting those together for us.
Thank you. And as a refresher, two of our members were absent, so I
Will be abstaining.
They would abstain. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
I abstain.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Abstain.
Councilman Godzowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez Perón?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. The record should show they abstained because they were absent, because you have to have a reason to abstain.
Oh, yes. Okay, that's fine.
Item number 19, resolution approving monthly reports for February 2023. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Resolutions as noted, Mr. Supervisor, this comes up every month. I would thank all the various department heads for putting the reports together for us.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Godzowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez Perón?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Now we'll move on to the add-on resolution before we get into new business. This is add-on resolution number 1, and this is a resolution that is dealing with coming to terms with the veterans group to run some programming through the residency that was purchased there at the park with a revocable license agreement. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
As you just said, Mr. Supervisor, using the property at Fort Legacy Park to do some business which otherwise they would not have a place to be doing so.
Yes. This is just an agreement regarding the residents. It doesn't deal with the rest of the park, which will come later. And this will give them an opportunity to start working out of that home and doing some changes to it in conjunction with the town. Approvals, obviously, but at least as a revocable agreement, license agreement for use of that property on a temporary basis. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Ramichardt?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez Barone?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. On to new business. So I'll start on my left with Councilman Galuski.
No new business.
Okay, Councilwoman Gonzalez Barone.
No new business.
Councilman Martin.
Yeah, I just want to echo your sentiments on the home rule issue. You know, I just, it's astounding that, you know, the gall of the state government. You know, they are the primary offenders and I know this to be true. I mean, I've worked in community development for 40 years. I've ran housing programs. I've worked in, you know, planning board review and all that stuff. And it just galls me. They are the primary offender, the primary contributor to the lack of affordable housing in this state. They've driven industry out with their high taxation. I know as a fact, I've seen the Bureau of Labor statistics, over 500,000 manufacturing jobs have been lost since the 90s in this state. And you just can't keep this up. And now, all of a sudden, there's a problem with home affordability. And it's not on the housing cost side, it is on the ability for the resident to pay side. And it's just unwielding taxation that is driving people from this state. And now they want to go in and break the back of local communities and challenge home rule. It's just astounding. And the last part of my rant will be, it's my annual time to draw the comparison between the New York State budget and the state of Florida. This year, New York State's considering a $227 billion budget. Florida's is $110 billion for 4 million more people. You know, I keep saying it, and it doesn't seem like people care, and that's amazing. The state of Florida is running their state government on literally less than half of what we spend in this state. I work with state agencies all the time. I was on a Zoom call several weeks ago about a park project. There were 15 state employees on the call. For what? They all have their little niche, and they're all making $80,000, $90,000 a year with benefits. And I don't know. It's just, I got on this board as a platform to talk about these things, and it's.
I think Mike got you excited talking about sewers.
It's just, I don't know when it's going to end and when people are going to finally say enough is enough.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Ramichardt.
Looking forward to some warmer weather with all this excitement with disc golf for our open space and park systems. I think Glenville's the place to be as it gets warmer.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think we should get some collegial disc golf, maybe like a 3-hole challenge going
We should.
once the course is up
We
and
will.
running.
We will.
All right.
We will. There's a lot of park projects going on. We'll be reporting on those next meeting. A lot going on in parks. And I just want to piggyback really quickly on Councilman Martin's comments. And I want to make it clear that we're not opposed to affordable housing.
No.
That's not, and unfortunately, that's what the governor is trying to suggest. We're opposed to coming in and telling a local government who doesn't have enough money, any of these local governments, to maintain the roads they have now. You know, we run our paving program off of CHIPS. The state of New York hasn't increased CHIPS money in 25 years, yet the cost of paving has gone through the roof. So we're doing fewer and fewer roads. But the governor actually, this will surprise me the most, wants to fast track these so much is she's willing to say that we should waive seeker for these projects. She's actually saying that she can waive seeker, environmental review, for these projects. Now, you either are protecting the environment or you're not protecting the environment. But to say that you're just going to allow no seeker review to go in maybe sensitive areas, wetland areas, flooding can occur, those are the things we're opposed to. You know, no look at, can the community even accept the housing? We don't have the proper roads in place. We already talked about that. We just talked about, we don't have sewer and infrastructure in place. Many parts of this town, we don't have water in place. Can the school district handle the influx of people? Can the fire department, the police department? It goes on and on and on. And all these things are just being ignored by saying, I want a house here and I want a house here and I want it here. Well, the governor, she's not monopoly woman. She doesn't get to do that. And that's what we're opposed to, is just an awful approach to a problem that they've created and they have no other solutions to other than blame local government.
And in that regard, and I Chris, you know, I mentioned to you in general that I wanted to sit with you and talk about an affordable housing proposal
Yes.
that I have here, or I thought about. And I'm going to be forthcoming with a proposal to form a local task force on affordable housing. And I want to deal with it with non-governmental intervention and non-governmental funding. Because that's where the solution lies, and it can be done. And if we put the capability of this community together, we can develop our own private solution to affordable housing. And when I say affordable housing, I just don't define it as a mortgage and the purchase cost. It is that plus the energy cost plus the real property tax cost. That's the housing cost, not just the mortgage. And there's ways I've been thinking about how we can approach this and put the capacity that exists in this community to work and challenge this community to come up with their own solution on a local basis and not have it cost 1 red cent to the town government.
Very good. Jim and I are going to start our podcast tomorrow, and Mike's going to be our first guest. All right. I think we have all our new business out of the way. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.